Hey, what's going on? JD here, and this, of course, is the Daily JD. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button, make sure that you get notifications when we, in fact, do go live. Of course, I always tweet out before going live on Twitter. You can find us there. Our handles are in the comments there, at Pain Inc. on Twitter, at Pain Inc. on Instagram. And of course, you can find me when I'm streaming gaming on Twitch TV at Pain Inc. You can find me there. I'm actually considering doing some daily JDs on Twitch, but I don't know if I'm going to go that route quite yet. You can definitely let me know what you guys think of that in the comments, whether you guys would be down for a Twitch stream of the Daily JD in addition to, or maybe just instead of. So again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Of course, as always, we want to thank our supporters that come via Patreon. Of course, that is none other than Reviewy McReviewface on Patreon. Thanks, Reviewy, for being a supporter of us, as well as our YouTube sponsors. That, of course, is Josh WRB, as well as Mums Universes. Those guys have been streaming up a storm. You can catch Josh WRB streaming Apex Elite, which is the new free-to-play game that comes from the creators of Titanfall. That is a ton of fun. Hey, Pete, good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. As well as Craftsman, thanks for tuning in. Good to see you, man. So, yeah, Josh has been, streaming basically Apex Elite, which is kind of the buzz game right now, taking over for Fortnite. So if you are a game streamer, you are quite possibly streaming that or looking to stream that. It is a free-to-play game, which is kind of cool. I like the fact that the gaming economy is changing a little bit thanks to titles like Fortnite, in the sense that you don't have to go out and necessarily buy a game for, if you're in Canada, $80 off Xbox, that basically you can play it free of charge. You can buy skins, which helps stimulate the economy, and Fortnite has proven that that is very, very profitable with their dance moves and their costumes for the game. Apex Elite, similar model, again, comes from the guys from Titanfall, so it feels very, very smooth, very, very complete. It just kind of showed up, and from what I've played a couple times with Josh on stream, a lot of fun. And of course, we've got Mums Universe, who is streaming I believe New Horizons on the PS4, which also is a very, very cool game. So you can check those guys out when they go live. You can follow them over on Twitch. We have their YouTubes there, but they're also stream on Twitch as well. I know Josh flips back and forth in order to maintain his, sort of clean contract with Twitch, because Twitch, if you didn't know, if you basically stream, you can't stream at the same time as another platform if you are an affiliate or partner. Otherwise, they kick you to the curb. So Josh has been streaming half and half. He'll do half a stream and then switch over, which has appeared to be a good strategy. So if you guys do have any questions, by all means, throw them in the chat. Today, you can ask me anything. I do have a few things to talk about, including a new Canon camera that's coming out, as well as some stuff as is tradition on the YouTube horizon, as well as probably revisiting, the $1.80 strategy, which came up in my feed today, and, in a couple places, actually. So, it's interesting if you're on Instagram, if you have not heard of the $1.80 strategy by Gary Vee. It is an interesting concept. So, we're going to start off essentially with YouTube. YouTube was named one of the most trusted, actually the most trusted brand among millennials, which is kind of interesting in a sense, because YouTube itself, really is just a platform, and, YouTube is a space, is, creator driven. So, I mean, it's interesting that, sort of the branding of YouTube is, number one in the hearts of millennials. I don't know. I think it's an emotionally driven response versus, actual brand kind of loyalty that people, especially millennials, come to YouTube for their entertainment. And with the launching of, YouTube television in the States where you can get cable, as well as YouTube music and, sort of the more Netflixy kind of YouTube premium channels that are available, a lot of people are turning to it, sort of as their entertainment source. So, I mean, it is kind of interesting in those regards that it's seen as such a reliable, sort of brand and a very trusted brand, especially when the amount of things that are on the platform that people don't care for is quite vast and immense. So it's an interesting kind of take on it. I'm curious what you guys think about YouTube being the most trusted brand. I know in the past year, last year was a little bit of a rocky year for YouTube. I know that trust among the creators was not very high, and they're looking to make some amends in those regards this year. If you looked at their value statements and sort of their goals for the year, but ultimately at the end of the day, that's what's going on with YouTube. Hey, good to see you, Jerry. Yes, we need to talk about how Trudeau needs to be arrested for treason. It's politics, man. Politicians, if you don't know already, politicians are essentially, any way you slice it, whether they're conservatives or liberals or NDP or whatever you want to talk about in those regards, basically all those guys are, they're owned by corporations and, lobbyist groups and so on. And, most people don't go into politics to, make the world better. They go into politics to do better for themselves, and that's the end of the line. So there you go. Can you do more Metallica vinyl unboxings? Alexander asks. I can once I get more, sort of Metallica unboxings. I do need to find somewhere along the lines. I do need to find the Death Magnetica box set, which is a little bit harder to find. Other than that, I pretty much have all the box sets for Metallica, so it gets a little hard to unbox things that don't have. I do have a collector's edition vinyl Metallica that was released when they released Hardwired to Self-Destruct. For those of you who follow the vlog and follow CJ92 know that I was down there with Diamond J. Phillips. We were the first guys in line, a very, very small line, albeit, which was kind of funny. As well, I was down there with Scott Bennett from The Path Less Traveled to get the album, and as well as Zach from Raised by Wolves. We were all down there like a bunch of, Metallica nerds waiting in line. In fact, I was the first person there, and I was kind of confused because you saw the lineups from the States, and they were absolutely huge. But I did get the release day Hardwired Self-Destruct Special Edition, which I have still sealed. I've kind of left it that way because I listened to the box set, but ultimately, I could probably unbox that. So there you go. Hey man, I've been very busy lately. Haven't had the time to see your stream since last year. How's it going? New Year's treating me well. New Year's treating me well. I'm doing all right. I got the vlog going. I am recovering from an injury now. I did rupture the bursa sac in my elbow, which really kind of sucks. It's been a few weeks since I've done that. It was 2 weeks ago, I think, the initial impact, and about almost a week now, I think a week tomorrow, when the sac actually ruptured in my elbow, which, if anybody has done that, it's a really weird sensation. I was basically fight training, and we clashed elbow to elbow, and it was sore. It's still very, very sore. And I was just kind of moving my arm, and I lifted it up like this, and all I could feel was a burning sensation, and that was the contents of the sac emptying out into my arm, which really, really sucks. So I've been, got some ultrasounds done, got some testing done. They're just saying at this point, rest, that I didn't rupture anything, which is beyond the sac, which is good. So hopefully at the end of the day, things are going well. Beyond that, I am not, I've had to take 8 weeks off of training, which kind of really, really sucks. sucks because I miss, kind of that outlet. But I mean, I've been riding every day. I'm up to about 15 odd kilometers a day on the bike. I think I rode 300 kilometers last month. I'm already up to almost 200 this month. So things are looking good as I, sort of rehab myself and get myself back into a better shape than I've been for a long, long time since my accident. So there you go. Hey, good to see you, Oren. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you, Woodrow, Mum's Universe. Good to see you, man. What do we got here? We've got what's everybody doing? I'm doing editing for YouTube, which is cool. Have you checked the esport events yet? No, I did advertise the CEL when they had their events. I think it's still on my thing on January 15th. It just didn't coincide with my schedule at that point. The event looked really, really good. It looked like it was well attended. It was at the TELUS Spark Center. I think they had something like 350 attendees, which is really good for the eSports League. I prefer to watch gaming streamers play versus competitive kind of streams. Like, I'm not really super big into watching, the esports where they come out, sort of with the jerseys and do the, pre-game talk and the post-game talk and, kind of that. To me, some of the stuff, I have watched some of it. It gets a little too WWE for my liking sometimes. And, it's kind of, I find the sport jersey thing a little weird myself. I get it. You're a team and you want to look the same and so on, but it's a bit strange in those regards. Video game tournaments and having fun and all those kind of things are super cool. I hope they do really, really well. I know they have another one coming up right away. I think it's like CEL number 2. They have been taking a lot of input from the community, what kind of games people want to game. So I think they're playing things this time around like Overwatch and Super Smash Bros. And I know there's some other gaming communities like that are out there with events coming up as well. So, I mean, gaming is growing as a community and event-wise, which is really, really good for especially the streamer community, Twitch community in Calgary, that these events are there. So, I mean, it's fantastic. I may go check, I think it's called Salt Flats. It's going to happen in Bowness in the coming weeks here. I might check that out because there is no entry fee, whereas CEL, I didn't go, number one, because of a schedule conflict, but number two is that I don't know if I would want to pay $15 to go watch people play video games. It's just kind of, it doesn't make sense to me, but that's my personal preference. If I'm going to spend money to see an event, it's more likely to be a concert or it's more likely to be an actual sporting event, more likely something like football along the way. So that's kind of what it is. But, again, it's a good addition to the community, and it's really good that these guys exist because Calgary was a bit behind in terms of esports and, getting these things together. I know Vancouver and Toronto have their own leagues already. So, I mean, it's good to see sort of the expansion. And I know a lot of people are looking at esports as a whole, and a lot of money is going into it at this point. Because people are seeing that, it is a huge thing. And I mean, to be honest, gaming is a lot more accessible in a lot of ways than a lot of sports. I mean, yes, it is maybe expensive to get a gaming console and play. But at the end of the day, if you look at things like ice time and rink time or playing football or playing any kind of actually organized sport in a city the size of Calgary or a lot of other cities, the pricing gets restrictive, especially with something like hockey. People pay a ridiculous amount of money to play hockey. So, esports getting a lot cheaper in those regards. Woodrow says, liking those how-to vids you've been putting out there. Thanks. Those are actually, those are old. Those are from my old channel. And I think I've mentioned before that I am in the process of kind of, moving the videos from my one channel over to this channel, and that this channel just sort of all-inclusively does everything. That channel was definitely much more focused on photography and, the business of photography and so on. I just never kind of got into the groove of doing tons and tons of videos. I would do a few every so often, and it just, it just never sort of came together. So that's why I'm switching it over. And then hopefully that will give me the option to not only vlog. So, vlogs I typically put out on Wednesday, but on occasion put out something different on a Wednesday, like a tutorial, or talk about camera gear, or, some other things. I mean, it just gives me a lot more options. And, again, it's probably maybe not the best strategy in the world for a channel to be sort of all over the map like I tend to be. But again, I honestly believe that, as a person, you're not, sort of flat or two-dimensional, that you've got a lot to offer. And there's no reason that somebody on their channel shouldn't be able to do those things. But I mean, knowing that, it's the people that subscribe and come to the channel and come to watch, if they get used to sort of what you're putting out and when you're putting it out, they know when to tune in. And I've tried to keep that schedule relatively regular. Sorry to hear about the injury. That's just part of life. I mean, I'm pushing 50. It's, I still get in and spar with people, and things are going to happen. That's just the nature of a contact sport like fighting. It's, you're going to get hit. You're going to take some lumps and bruises. And, for me, it was just, sort of an unfortunate elbow clash. It's, and it wasn't until after, sort of I stepped out of the ring that, I knew what was going. I didn't even know what was going on. It just felt sore. I figured, it's good. I'll have a week off, and then I will go back because I had an event to shoot at the rec room because I had a long drive contest that I went to, and I figured by the time that I went back, I would be fine. But it wasn't the case, and obviously my elbow exploded, and that was really kind of not fun. But that's all a part of it. I mean, I've had injuries throughout my career. And, you just have to deal with them as they come. And when you abuse your body like that, because really, in a sense, it's abuse, that's just all part and parcel. But, what doesn't kill you just makes you stronger. Oren says the Salt Lake event is this weekend. I'm going to check it out. Okay, cool. So the Salt Lake event, obviously, this weekend. They have a bunch of games down there. If you want to go and watch that, and again, it's in Bowness. I don't have the exact details. I was kind of, I quickly glimpsed at it today, but it is free to watch. So if you want to go and watch and not participate, it's absolutely free. If you just want to kind of go hang out, if you want to participate, I think it's a $15 entry free, and they've got everything, like I said, from Street Fighter 5 to Super Smash Bros. To, I think they're playing Fortnite and a few other things. So very good. It's good to see you, Josh. Thanks for dropping in. Appreciate it. Just so you guys know, please smash that like button down below. Let people know that you are enjoying things thus far. So again, today is Ask Me Anything. Please do throw your questions in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to discuss whatever you guys want to talk about. So one of the other things that I did want to talk about today was that, because it's shown up kind of repeatedly in my feed, which is interesting. I am in a couple groups that talk about, that basically are occupied by bands and musicians that are promoting their band. And this came up in that, as well as Gary Vaynerchuk just put out a video basically this week about it, talking about his $1.80 strategy. And what that is essentially how to basically develop your Instagram account. So I know a lot of you guys are on Instagram, and the strategy is very, very straightforward, which Gary preaches, and that's essentially interaction. It's going out and, targeting specific things. So if you are into since we've been talking about video games, we'll talk about Fortnite, is to go out and search the hashtag Fortnite. You can narrow it down to a specific city, usually the city that you're in, and you start and you go comment on all those people. Usually you start with a local targeting. Why? Because those are the people that you are more likely to interact with. They're also more likely to follow you because you are, into the same things and living in the same space as they are ultimately. So, you would go on to Fortnite and you would watch or take a look at, whatever the thing is, make a comment that is, relative to the photograph, not just nice. You would be a little more specific, something where people know it's not a bot. Asking a question is a good strategy. So say, hey, that's a really cool thing. Like, where did you find that? Or, maybe if it is a game streamer and they have merch, it's like, hey, I'm really into Fortnite. That's a really cool hat. Where would I get one? Because they're more likely to interact with you time. And a lot of times, especially when there's low interaction on those posts, people are going to go do it. I mean, I will admit it myself as well. Typically, if you like a post or you make a comment on a post, generally I will at the very least jump and see who you are. If I like what I see and I'm into kind of some of the same stuff, a lot of times I will follow that person. So it is a very, very viable strategy. The reason it's called the $1.80 strategy is because what Gary says is you should be going and giving your 2 cents on up to 90 on 90 posts a day, which equals $1.80 cash, and you'll get all sorts of returns and build up your account really fast. And on top of that, there is an advantage for the smaller accounts at this point because some things like Facebook, where, they will sort of throttle bigger accounts and look for people to pay for advertising, that typically doesn't happen to smaller accounts. So you'll have a lot more opportunity to get out there. Josh asked, anyone know how to fix a Rode Video Mic Pro? I'm going to assume it's a cable issue, and that gets a little bit dicey. I mean, you could definitely, sort of splice in a new cable, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's a risky endeavor. That's the only thing. That's, one of my big complaints about a lot of these shotgun microphones that they create, mine included, is that they make a cable that plugs in, and essentially like, a set of headphones. If you break that cable, they become absolutely useless because there is no way to kind of ultimately replace it without, performing surgery. There are some mics that do have, just sort of a 3.5 millimeter input and then another 3.5 on the other end. You can change that cable at will, which I like a lot more. Even, headphones. I have a pair of Shure headphones that I utilize that are a good quality one. But, essentially I can change that cable if the cable does in fact become broken, and that does happen all the time. So again, if you have any questions, by all means, throw them in the chat. Let me know what you guys would like to discuss. So we've discussed essentially YouTube and being the most trusted brand by millennials. We've discussed essentially Gary V's $1.80 for Instagram. And the last thing I want to talk about is that Canon has announced a new mirrorless camera, or it's not announced it yet. There is rumors that it's coming out, but they're coming from a fairly reliable source. Canon will be coming out with the EOS RP, which will be a full frame mirrorless targeted at a cheaper price point. And I've heard, sort of a price point between $1,200-$1,300, which is really kind of interesting. A lot of people are criticizing it. It's like, why would you put out a worse camera? We want to see a pro camera. But the truth of the matter is that the vast majority of business that Canon does is in a lot of their entry-level cameras. So in the past, that's been things like, the 70 and 80Ds, or things like, the Rebel series. Those tend to do really, really well. So in order to sort of capture the hobbyist market versus the pro market, because a lot of pro users are honestly still sticking with full frame cameras, the full DSLR. I just shot the Arkells on the weekend, and that's what I've been. I utilize the Sony A7 III for a few shows. I utilize it. It's not you know, it's a capable camera. However, that being said, you know, I still kind of trust that big DSLR body a lot more, and it's you know, it's a better focusing camera overall, and that's my Canon 5D Mark III. It's not even the current 5D Mark IV, so you know, it's very interesting in those regards. So I understand why Canon is sort of targeting a, you know, sort of entry level audience, because once you get attached to a system, it gets harder and harder to move. When you start investing in glass, if you start buying, you know, sort of these mounts for the Canon's mirrorless system, which is a different mount than the EF mounts, is that you will eventually become invested in glass, and you will kind of stick with the system because it gets very, very expensive to jump across. Even though I do have a Sony camera, I do only have the one Sony native lens. And to get the lenses that I would really kind of need to do my job on a regular basis, I would probably have to kick in another $6,000-7,000 to get my kit up to snuff to where my Canon is, and that's a big investment in glass. You know, I'm not saying that glass is a bad investment. It's just when you already have a bunch of glass and the camera is fully capable and the images aren't that much different, you know, you're going to do okay. I mean, I do like the Sony. The Sony does great video. On the video end of things, it is most definitely a far superior camera to my 5D Mark III. So there you go. Josh says, if you didn't have to sleep, what would you do with the extra time? It's an interesting question because I don't sleep a ton. My days are starting at 4:45. I am typically heading to sleep between, I would say, about 10:30, 11 o'clock. So I'm really only sleeping maybe 5 3/4 hours, maybe 6 hours a night on a regular basis. If I had the extra time, what would I do? I would kind of just keep on working on what I'm working on. I would probably do a little more drawing in my case, because I haven't been drawing as much and painting as much as I usually do, because it's a very time consuming process. Although, you know, I do from time to time, you know, sort of get in there and put in a 10-hour day, just depending on what my schedule is. But, you know, ultimately I kind of do enjoy that sleep. You know, it's interesting to think, if you could work 24 hours a day, what you could accomplish. You know, an extra 4 to 5, 6 hours a day, it's actually a huge chunk of time when you think about it. I would maybe I would probably maybe spend a little more rec time. I would maybe actually watch maybe an hour of TV. You know, it sounds very unconstructive, but I don't watch a lot of TV. Or maybe I would play some more video games. You know, while I'm, you know, have the opportunity, I tend to maybe just play those once or twice a week, more often than not once. So, I mean, it's very, very interesting. Or I would find some other project to fill that time. You know, I could definitely use the time to work more on the collective. That would definitely be something that I could utilize extra time to do, because I'm still kind of, you know, just kind of slowly plugging along with that. Again, if you have not seen the Facebook page, that is the Facebook page there. And you can basically go over there, like the page, and see the updates. I shared some music today from a friend who is just doing his solo project now. So that is up there. So that is what we've shared over there. And again, you know, hopefully we'll get some events going in the near future. It's been actually really good for events wise. You know, I haven't really felt the need to do anything. You know, Calgary Video Creators just had their coffee meetup. You know, they had the first CEL, the second CEL's coming up. They've got the Salt Flats coming up. I know Twitch Calgary's got their event coming up soon in March. So, I mean, it's been good community-wise. Everybody's kind of been, you know, really jumping into the new year. So, I mean, that's good. It's exciting. It's good to see people that are, you know, out there doing things, working together, and, you know, making great community spaces, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Jumping into it. I use a Canon Rebel. It's decent, but it has its limits. No input for the mic, and it stops recording after 12 minutes. Yeah, I mean, anytime that you don't have a camcorder, they are going to have restrictions. That I think the 70D has a 25 or 26-minute time limit, then it cuts off because it changes the class of camera, and there's a different, I believe, tax involved with it, especially in Europe, as well as, you know, the other thing is with the Rebel, the Canon Rebel, it depends on the model you have. I have a Canon Rebel T5i. It does have the mic input. The autofocus isn't as good as the 70D, but it is a decent, capable camera. You know, I wouldn't hesitate to, you know, recommend, especially for the price points that you can find a lot of the Canon Rebels now. You know, they're great cameras for, you know, vlogging and starting out YouTube. And again, you know, sort of getting a bunch of lenses and starting out and building up your, you know, sort of, you know, war chest in a sense, you know. But at this point, it's kind of an interesting conversation, because I think if you don't have a DSLR at all, you are probably best to start getting into a mirrorless system. And the reason for that is the DSLR is going to eventually go the way of the Dodo, that they will support for a while longer. I think you'll see a couple more releases from Canon. So it's maybe got another 5 to 10 years kind of shelf life, and then it will be full on for the mirrorless. And, you know, again, it's becoming a very competitive sort of space. You know, Nikon has the Z1. Sony has, of course, all their sort of A series cameras. So, I mean, you've got, you've got Canon now moving in with the R series as well. So there you go. Hey, El, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Loving the unicorn stuff and loving all the boomerang shots you're doing with your mom. That's completely cool. Oh yeah, it's a really good starter. Yeah, it's like I said, the Rebel is an absolutely fantastic starter. So that's kind of what I have for you guys today. Unless you guys have any questions or anything that you want to discuss, by all means, again, throw those in the comments. Josh says, Rebel is a dope starter camera. I learned so much using that camera. And again, you know, it's really, you know, a good place to start, especially if you've never clicked a camera out of manual. You know, do you really need the top of the line? And that's always kind of the interesting thing with these cameras, is that I find that, especially with YouTube and YouTubers and creators, that people get this kind of gear lust, and I understand it. I mean, I suffer from it a fair bit as well, you know, where I like new shiny gear. I kind of like the latest, greatest kind of thing. But a lot of times you are operating, you know, a camera that can do way more than you're ever going to utilize it, or you're not going to use its full features. So it's really kind of not worth the money to put, you know, that money. And again, you know, when we've discussed cameras before, it's always more worthwhile to put your money into lenses before you put them into bodies. And again, you know, making the determination, you know, essentially, am I going to go mirrorless? Am I going to go a DSLR? Which brand am I going to go with? Those are the important factors to kind of take a look at. And again, at this point, you know, my recommendation would be to take a look at, you know, sort of going mirrorless, because, you know, that is where the future of cameras are going to be. So long term, you're going to want to build up those things. And I mean, if you're a person like myself, unfortunately, you're going to have to transition at some point. The nice thing for me now is, like I said, I get to kind of hang on and wait and see. My cameras are capable of doing what I need them to do. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it should be, you know, it should be good. You know, it's good because I do have an adapter for my Canon lenses to use on the Sony. So, I mean, I can use all the lenses that I do have across the thing, but it's not optimal because it's not native. So there you go. She loved it. That's absolutely fantastic. I'm glad that Elle loved that. So again, if you have any questions, by all means, throw them in the chat. And let me know what you guys would like to discuss. In what are some of your things you do throughout the day that make your day better? I I really kind of there are a few things that I do. It's kind of interesting that you asked that question, and you know, I am a very routine kind of person. I like routine. I like to do certain things. There are things and very, very basic things that I enjoy. My day starts now at basically, uh, you know, 4:45 in the morning. I get up. I will do anywhere from a 45-minute ride to an hour ride, sometimes a half hour. I do it every day, even on days. You should never exercise really every day, really, really hard, but I do what are called active recovery rides, which means basically you pedal, but you're not going as fast as you could. You're not definitely using your energy. You're just kind of keeping things in the blood flowing, and that's what I do. I always find that now, and this has become a new routine again as of this year, is that, that gets me going for the day. I am a horrible morning person most of the time. When I get on the bike, I am half asleep and not very happy. By the time I'm done, I am too, basically got so much blood going through my system that I'm wide awake, very alert and ready for my day is kind of how it goes. So that sets me up for a good day. And even, with the elbow injury and stuff like that, I just modify what I do in order to do it. Even, when I was in university and I was playing basketball and football, I had several ankle sprains throughout my sort of university career. Every day when I was there, I would basically cycle. So even if I was unable to practice, I would still cycle with no resistance and just keep, sort of the body moving. It helps get your blood circling and get you going. And I mean, that goes for any kind of exercise. And, it definitely sort of gets me going, throughout the day. The other thing that I do is, I like sort of, taking time. I do take the time about, usually between 11 o'clock and noon. I do take a lunch hour and I just go and I relax. A lot of times I will just lay down. I will listen to some music. And just kind of chill for an hour. I turn off my phone. I put it on to basically voicemail, and I take that time, and I take that time religiously, and I always kind of take myself mindfully to take breaks, where I will just kind of take 15 minutes, sit down, maybe meditate a bit, which I do a lot normally, anyways, and ultimately at the end of the day, just kind of clear my thoughts. Cinema time. I'm going to head out. See you next stream. I'll make the next ones for sure. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck with the pop hunting. Cinema time. Thanks for dropping in. So, just those kind of things, they make my days a little bit better. I always like to, like I said, I like to, get my blood going, and I like to clear my head is kind of, sort of the thing. And again, just taking time out. One of my favorite things to do in the morning is sit down and eat cereal and watch, the morning news, which is again, just a routine thing, but I enjoy that. And then other than that, I'm all over the place. If you ask my wife, essentially I am a person that has a very hard time sort of sitting still, to sit down and watch, TV for hours on end. I can't do it. I've got to get up. I've got to move, and I've got to do something. It's even, with sports. I've always been a kind of person where if I watch sports on TV, I would rather be doing sports than watching things. So I always like to do stuff, and, my day is pretty busy and I multitask a lot. And a lot of times, like I will watch other people's videos. I will drop in on their streams. I will do a whole bunch of social media stuff, but I'm multitasking sort of throughout the day in between meetings and, doing what I have to get done and work. So, but, it's essentially, everything, that I do again is kind of a routine thing because I find that if I set up a routine, I will stick with it. Other things that I like to do is in the summer, usually instead of, kind of sitting there and listening to music, I will go out and I will walk for an hour. I just get fresh air. I get out of the office. I will go for a walk. I'll take the dogs. I will spend an hour with them. We will screw around. We'll play with the ball, whatever. And then come back and I'm really kind of refreshed, and it just kind of gets me out of the space that I work in all the time, and it just kind of clears my head, and I feel a lot more refreshed. A lot of times I will, build something in to that as well. Is a lot of times I will go for lunch at that time because I also have a nasty habit of work, 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 and then nothing. So, I mean, establishing those routines, it's kind of like, okay, it's 11 o'clock. I need to do this. And believe me, your body will tell you, that it's time to go. And it's funny how your body adapts, at this point now. The first few times that I woke up in the new year in January to go and ride at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was like, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? Like, why? You don't have to do this. This is way too early. Why don't you just do it like at noon or 1 o'clock or later in the evening or something? But, it didn't quite fit into my schedule. That was going to be the time. Now at this point, I find myself waking up. I don't know if you guys are like me at all, but a lot of times my body, I think, or my mind are anticipating the alarm. So I am up before the alarm goes off. I'll be there and I know it's going to go off in a few minutes, and I'll just be sort of waiting for it. And then boom, I'm out of bed and ready to go. So it's interesting how you adapt, and even, taking things, like time to breathe or time to, kind of clear your mind, forget about stuff, just relax for a few minutes. It all helps, sort of build a better, place for yourself, a better mental space and, better, just a better all around life feeling. So that's kind of where I look in those things. That's all good stuff. I am trying to get some good habits in my life. And again, it's just a matter of starting. And once you start, continuing to do those. And once it becomes a routine, then, you feel, especially in my case, I feel weird if I'm not doing it. Sunday I got up a little bit late because I was up late on Saturday, and I didn't go. I think I basically mulled around for a little bit, and I had to, I was compelled to go to the bike and get my ride in because, I just ultimately, it's my mind's telling me I need to go there, that's part of the routine. So if you have any other questions, by all means, throw them in the chat there. In the meantime, I'm going to click this play ad button, so that may mean that you get an ad. If you do get an ad, that is fantastic. Let me know. If you don't get an ad, by all means, let me know as well. I know that some people, oh, I apologize. Holy smokes. Starting to lose my voice here along the way. But based on a complex criteria, some people will be getting an ad, some people won't. So hopefully things are going well for you guys, that your New Year's clicking in. Hopefully you are getting those habits and you're looking to do. Hey, Jackson, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. Again, if you do have any questions, by all means, throw them into the chat there, because, the topics that I've looked to sort of cover today, I have sort of run through. So again, I appreciate everybody that's going in, and remember to hit that like and bell button. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, by all means, please do subscribe. As well, like I said, we go every Tuesday and Thursday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can join us for the live stream. If you have anything that you want to discuss in any of those, you could hit me up on my socials, which are, of course, at Pain Inc. So looks like chat is pretty quiet. I don't think we've got any more questions coming in. I will just give that a couple more seconds. And if I don't get anything, I guess we will call it a stream. Next week will be an interesting week. I am hopefully, as far as I know, I'm still on schedule for photographing Snoop Dogg. So kind of looking forward to that. It's going to be one of those nights, I think, that I'm going to have to take an Uber home from work, or probably Uber in and Uber out, because I think I will be inhaling copious amounts of secondhand smoke, and I will probably be, inadvertently completely lit up. I can't see it being any other way. It's going to be really interesting because I've never been to a Snoop concert, so, the fact that I'll be working there and up front, and, it's most definitely with, cannabis being legal in Canada, I'm pretty sure that that place is going to be, just one. The dome is just going to be a giant hot box, I think, at the end of the day. So it'll be an interesting concert for sure. Vlog comes out tomorrow. It's a bit of an interesting vlog. I sort of discuss what happens when things don't go to plan. It's kind of a mixed vlog. It's something really, really kind of different. So hopefully you guys will check that out. That, of course, comes out at, as is tradition, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'm not sure why I always release stuff that early in the morning. I think it's just because I'm up early. And, that's just kind of how my routine is. And I just kind of want to get it going. Is where it is. I think there might be a better time to release it, but 7 a.m. is kind of what I've always done for, Lloyd and JD, as well as the vlogs. So, and things are coming well. Thanks again to Josh for loaning me the Walkman. Again, accumulating stuff for my little 80s project here, which I think will be a lot of fun to film. Hoping for some better weather for that, because it's absolutely freezing outside still. I think we're going to be frozen for most of February by the looks of things, but I can't complain too much because ultimately it's been relatively good. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions. We got some snoops in the chat and some fire, which is awesome. Again, thank you for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it as always. Again, remember to like, comment, subscribe, let people know that you're here. Check us out on Twitter, and I will see you all on Thursday. So until the next time, see ya.